Pat Cashel. I'm a trial lawyer, local boy. I'm honored to be here with John Flangus, a member of one of the great legal families in the history of the city of Manhattan, and his son Alex. Nice to see you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're Reno High's Unit 2. I'm Nicole Flangus.
I'm Michael Wall.
I'm Brooke Erickson.
I'm Trevor Livingston.
I'm Reagan Driley, and our coach is Lieutenant Colonel Scott Marriott, and our teacher is Mr. Richard Clark.
All right, Unit 2. Today we're going to be discussing question number 1. Question 1 is, how does the Constitution limit government power to protect individual rights while promoting the common good? Why did the Federalists and Anti-Federalists disagree on whether the Constitution sufficiently protected individual rights and promoted the common good? What responsibilities, if any, do citizens have for seeing that individual rights are protected and the common good is promoted? Whenever you're ready, you may begin.
In his 1792 essay, Virginia Congressman James Madison expressed the necessity that government be limited in power to protect individual rights, lest they be infringed upon. He expressed, as a man is said to have a right to his property, he may equally be said to have a property in his rights. Where an excess of power prevails, property of no sort is duly respected. No man is safe in his opinions, his person, his faculties, or his possessions. Madison believed the national government must be limited to prevent an excess of power and protect the rights of citizens. Drawing from John Locke's natural rights philosophy, the framers of the Constitution incorporated several provisions to limit the power of government, so that individual rights such as life, liberty, and property remain untouched by tyranny. Such negative rights are found in Article 1, Section 9, which prohibits the government from suspending the writ of habeas corpus and passing ex post facto laws or bills of attainder.
Respectively, these rights prevent the government from arbitrarily detaining individuals, enacting retroactive laws, and declaring individuals guilty of a crime without trial. During the Red Scare, the Supreme Court in U.S. v. Lovett struck down a bill of attainder, which would have denied government officials their pay simply because they were suspected communists. The decision exemplifies how the limitations on government promote the common good, because citizens with controversial ideas could live without fear of being discriminated against. Because restrictions like these protect individuals with views adverse to the government, they allow for freedom of conscience and promote civil discourse, which is necessary for the common good to be determined.
During the ratification debates, anti-federalists argued that the Constitution alone did not adequately protect individual rights. Although most state constitutions included declarations of rights, anti-federalists feared the national government would be able to infringe upon these rights under the Supremacy Clause in Article 6. In the paper Brutus II, anti-federalists claimed that because of this, the Constitution positively expressed that the different state constitutions are repealed and entirely done away. Due to this, they believed an explicit delineation of such rights was necessary to prevent the government from encroaching upon the people's personal sovereignty. Furthermore, the anti-federalists fought for individual rights because they believed that only through a smaller central government would enlightened self-interest prevail to promote the common good.
The Federalists contested this idea, believing that the common good could only be upheld by a strong federal government that overrides the innate selfish nature of man. Alexander Hamilton argued in Federalist 84 that individual rights were not only implicitly protected in the Constitution, but also ensured under most state constitutions. He also worried that a Bill of Rights added to the Constitution could actually endanger the people's rights, believing that it would contain various exceptions to powers not granted, and on this very account would afford a colorful pretext to claim more than were granted. The Federalists feared that the inclusion of one right would be the exclusion of another. A responsibility allotted to citizens is that of maintaining individual rights. By upholding the First Amendment rights to assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances, citizens can facilitate alteration or abolition of unjust legislation, promoting the common good. The rights to free speech and press promote an educated citizenry, which is vital in the preservation of individual rights. If they are not known, rights will be infringed upon.
As the Ghanaian diplomat Kofi Annan said, the responsibility of citizens to know their rights is the cornerstone of freedom and democracy. Furthermore, citizens must actively protect their rights from officials who abuse their power and indict them when necessary by serving on a grand jury. Clark County Family Court Judge Stephen Jones was subject to such indictment when a federal grand jury found him guilty of a plethora of frauds and money laundering.
Similarly, citizens have a duty to participate in court cases through amicus briefs, as done by the many First Amendment supporters in response to the Westboro Baptist Church case Snyder v. Phelps, and even helped to set precedents as done in Equal Employment Opportunity Commission versus Abercrombie and Fitch, which defined the right to free expression of religion without discrimination. While the Constitution delineates our rights, it is we the people who uphold them, and thus the common good. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. We're going to ask you some follow-up questions now. I think you guys provided some really strong historical examples, but I'm kind of curious to maybe hear about some current issues. So how would you define the common or public good, and what are some of the current issues that involve?
Well, the common good is what is best for the entire whole of the nation and the people, but I don't think that's always applicable in every situation, and I don't necessarily think it's attainable.
As seen with the U.S. Patriot Act, we see that the common good is defined by what is necessary to provide for the national security. So we see the sacrifice of our Fourth Amendment rights of privacy for national security.
The common good is the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And I don't believe that it's black and white. I think there's gray areas and they can be achieved in some regard.
Common good is not necessarily what the majority agrees on, but what an unforeseen minority can predict to further the nation's progress, as seen in Roe v. Wade and recently Obergefell v. Hodges, which gave marriage rights to gay couples.
What individual rights do you think are most in need of protection today, and why?
The individual right to freedom of conscience is in need of protection. In the original draft of the First Amendment, James Madison included freedom of conscience as part of it. However, it was taken out. But it can be seen today that it is necessary to protect people's thoughts and beliefs so that they are not discriminated against by the government for having adverse beliefs.
Our individual right to privacy is also another right that we need to protect more, as seen with the recent NSA problems with John Snowden and all of this. We see our privacy, our right to privacy being violated time and time again. And we need to have a clear definition of what our privacy really means.
Some have argued that the Second Amendment is a vital individual right. In the Declaration of Independence, they discuss the fact that people have a duty to overthrow oppressive governments, and the only way we can do that is if we're armed. And so the Second Amendment can be seen as a vital right in that preservation of liberty.
Women's reproductive rights also need protecting. Currently in 40 states, minors require the consent of one or both parents in order to get an abortion, and even in Utah, they require judge consent, which could be argued that it's none of their business.
Finally, while religion is protected in the First Amendment, with the current wave of Islamophobia kind of sweeping the nation, I do believe that more protection should be granted to those people. As seen in the case of Korematsu v. U.S., while this was race instead of religion, I do believe something similar could happen, and it needs to be.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm curious then how you guys, what you guys think about, how do we wrestle, part of Donald Trump's proposal to bar Muslims from entering the United States?
Well, one could argue that Donald Trump would not, if he were elected president, have the power to do so. Although presidents do have the power of executive orders in Article 2, Section 1, the vesting clause, it could be argued that the president does not have the power to bar a whole group of people because they have the First Amendment right to freedom of religion.
Article 6, Section 3 guarantees that no test of religion should be required for entering a public office. This right of religion, or freedom of religion, is expanded upon in the First Amendment and has been guaranteed as a fundamental right in many Supreme Court cases.
Do you think it's problematic, though, that there have been passed laws in our nation that have barred, by, say, the Chinese Exclusion Act, where, there's historical precedent for banning people based on race or whatnot. So is that problematic at all?
That is a problem. However, we see that the Congress and the government at the specific time, we can't really apply the past to the present. So we can't, back in the day, there were a lot of racist people, and they believed that Chinese should not be allowed into the United States because they were taking jobs and taking American opportunities. So even though they were opting for the common good in this case, it is a problem today if we have like a Syrian Refugee Exclusion Act. It obviously would be a problem because our society has become one that is accepting respecting of all nationalities and religions.
Furthermore, the legislative branch is our most reflective branch, and it does have the most power within our government. So if the people and the states work together and decide that they want to let in the immigrants from Syria or anywhere over there, then we have to recognize that that is what the common good, the most people want, and they're supposed to reflect the needs of all the people.
This is seen in France after the recent attack from ISIL, assumed that, and during a state of emergency, the national government can expand its power in order to protect the common good, which is what occurred after 9/11 in the United States when George W. Bush signed the Patriot Act.
This could also be seen during the Civil War when Abraham Lincoln issued an executive order to suspend writ of habeas corpus in the border states, which prevented them from seceding and essentially preserved the Union.
I want to follow up on Mr. Wong's comment. Does national security trump 4th, 5th, 6th Amendment rights?
In the time period that said national security problems occurred, yes, it does. As seen with the recent Paris attacks, you see them taking away their 4th Amendment rights, or well, the right to privacy, just in case that something else were to happen. So in that time period, I believe that the 4th, 5th, and whatever else amendment should be put aside. But other than that, after that time period, it should not be put aside.
And to the panel as a whole, the word social media is not found in the Constitution. Does the government, in your view, have the power to restrict content on social media or anything?
No, the national government does not. In the case of Tinker v. Des Moines, it was ruled that free speech, even in forms that are not necessarily speech, are still legal and protected under the First Amendment. Therefore, the national government does not have the right to restrict what we say on social media.
I disagree with my colleague Brooke. In Article 1, Section 8, Clause 2, that is the general welfare clause. And in any case that social media is involved, Congress or any part of the government can use that specific clause to say, for the general welfare, we can restrict social media because of national security.
Additionally, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 gives the power to Congress to regulate commerce between states. United States versus Bishop Processing Co. and Gibbons v. Ogden have expanded commerce to water and air, and who's to say that they cannot expand its commerce clause to social media and what is said there.
I think we're going to have to stop there because we're several minutes over time. But we're going to just give you some quick feedback. First of all, I think you guys did an amazing job. I think your answers were very, very well understood. You had very good concrete examples for us, not only in the prepared testimony, but also in the cross-examination. I've done lots of teaching of this, coaching, and I have to say that's probably one of the better rounds that I have ever seen. So, good job.
I agree with Mario. I think you guys did a great job. Very responsive, very quick with your answers, and the supporting evidence using the current issues, that was great.
I would suggest just one tweak. We are not only your judges, but we are your jury. When one of your colleagues was speaking, you all focused on him or her, not us, to see what our reaction was. I respectfully suggest that in future contests, you focus on who the judges are, who your jury is, and look to see how we react to what one of your colleagues says. Is it a nod? Is it lean back? Is it shake it? I mean, get some feedback so that you can filter what we say and do into what your arguments are.